I spent 5 days fishing with jigs, and this is what I learned. Now, of course, there are many different styles of jigs to choose from, but I didn't want to be stuck with just one the entire time, so I chose the top 5 bass fishing jigs I think most anglers should know how to fish with, and we got started with a good one on day number 1. Now, my favorite style of jig head, at least, is going to be the Arkie style of jig head, and this is just a good, standard, all-around jig, and today we're on a great lake full of bass, and we're hopefully going to catch some by fishing it around aquatic vegetation. Now, why would you fish a jig on aquatic vegetation as opposed to a Texas rig or a crankbait or a vibrating jig? Well, because this thing right here is the perfect bluegill imitator. As you hop a jig off the bottom like this, it looks just like a bluegill that's putting its nose to the bottom, and bass cannot resist it. Now here, the jig that I have is the Outcast Tackle Juice Jig, perfect all-purpose jig, and this color here really represents the northern bluegills we are imitating today. So let's get on the front deck, catch some fish. There's one. Come on now. Oh, piked me. You've got to be kidding me. All right, well, y'all haven't seen off camera is I got piked at multiple different lakes. There's one. Unbelievable. We're leaving here. This is not worth our time. I've lost so many jigs today, all in the effort to try to catch one on the juice jig on a grass edge. These pike are crazy. Good grief, folks at home. Oh, hello. Oh my, you gotta be kidding me. I lost another jig. I got one jig left. One. Well, tip number 1 for fishing a jig around grass, find a place where the pike are not, because this is horrible. Oh, there we go. Yes, sir. Not tiny at all. Oh my goodness. Will this fish make all the jigs worth it? Get in here, yes, yes, yes. What an absolute chunker of a bass right there on the juice jig, right as I got into a brand new little grass clump, a beautiful 3-pound largemouth bass. Let's go. Thank you, my friend. It's been a long day. I'll teach you guys how and where I'm fishing this jig. Now, this bank line you see behind me, by just looking at the water, you would have no idea there's aquatic vegetation below. I could just actually go up there and look down in the clear water, and I could see there's some grass down there. So we have a grass edge going along the entire length of this little bowl lake here, a very small, I don't know, 10, 15 acre lake. And the type of bass that I'm targeting using this jig is really applicable to everybody out there. If you have grass in your pond or your lake, I'm casting this thing around the edge, really a few feet into the grass. And then, as we'll talk about here with retrieval in a second, I'm shaking it, making sure those fish know it's there. And if they're not gonna bite it, they're not gonna bite it. I make a new cast somewhere else, but I can be ultra efficient fishing my way down the grass edge with this jig as opposed to a Texas rig worm or a creature bait. A jig is just a more compact package and, in my opinion, gets bigger bites. So I'm gonna make a short little roll cast out there. Again, the grass edge is not too far from me. Of course, with every bottom contact bait, the jig being one of them, I let it sink all the way down to the bottom. I'm reeling in my slack and then giving it a few shakes, 5 or 6. And I'm not like shaking it so much where the jig hops like 2 foot every time. I'm not shaking it like this. I'm just kind of giving it little 6-inch to 1 foot rod tip shakes with my rod tip high, and that really gives the jig a presence down there like it's a bluegill kind of nosing down on the bottom. And like I said, these bass are cruising around the edge in schools, feeding on giant schools of bluegill. And by giving that jig a shake just like this, it's a great way to trigger these bass into eating. I hope I don't get piked. I want to catch more. Oh, I've got one. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get your booty in here. Come on now. Not as big as the first one, but we'll take it. You might have seen there, I was kind of shaking this thing around, and I wasn't honestly sure if I had a fish or if I was stuck in the grass. But the good thing is these fish hang on to it for a decent amount of time. And what proportions on that fish? I mean, like, look at my chest mount angle. Chunk a dunk. I wish he were 5 pounds bigger, but I'm glad he's on a pike. Oh, here he is. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A few in a row. A few in a row. Let's go, baby. That one feels big. Come on. Oh my gosh, it is big. Get your butt up in here. Yes, sir. Yes. What a chunker. Finally got away from the pike into the bass. And just look at how he ate that jig down the hatch. Strong hook set. Beautiful fish. Yes. Thank you, beautiful 3-pounder. Maybe 3.5 if we're lucky. See you later, alligator. Yes, sir. Come on. Not a big one, but a fun one. And that's another one that's not a pike. What a good start. Oh. See ya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On the edge. Bring it in here. Oh, we found him. We found him, folks. They on the edge, and I'm no longer on the edge. I feel good. Let's go. And one rule of thumb, especially with this type of fishing, is that if you catch a fish, cast back in the exact same area. As you can see, I'm catching them over and over and over. Ooh. Thank you, buddy, for such a fun morning. Oh, here he is. Oh, whoa, actually, I was not expecting that kind of a pullback there. Got him. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. What a fun day. And this is just day one. I'll waste a bunch of jigs for this. Just chunk after chunk after chunk. If you're not throwing a jig, hopefully day one has convinced you you need to. Well, thank you, big girl, for playing, showing the folks at home how fun the jig is. And that's enough for day one on the Juice Jig. Let's get to day number 2. And for today's fishing, I'm gonna be tying on the swim jig. Now, the differences between the standard Arkie style we fished in day 1 and the swim jig really are pretty minimal. They both have a relatively cylindrical shaped head and a vertical line tie. The swim jig, though, does tend to come a little more cylindrical in terms of head design and usually comes with a longer, stronger wire hook because this thing is not meant to be finessed in any way. It is meant to be thrown up in the stuff. The swim jig I'm gonna fish today is the Outcast Jackpot Jig, our premium swim jig equipped with a VMC redline hook. And as the trailer, I'm gonna use the Strike King Scound Bug in Summer Craw to add a little bit of contrast but still match that bluegill colored skirt. And while you can hop or shake this thing across the bottom, it works just fine. It's designed to be swam through the nastiest of shallow cover, which is exactly what I'm gonna do today. Let's get to catching. Swim jig's back. Gosh, there's one. He's running at me, holy cow. Gosh, today, that dude was fast, holy cow. Talk about eating it and running at you, and look at his eyes. That largemouth has orangish red eyes, super cool. All right, swim jig got us one on the bank. That makes me immediately want to do this. I'm gonna put it on a 7.3 medium heavy moderate fast. I want a little longer length and I want a little stronger line. If they're gonna be in this stuff, I want to be well prepared for it. Oh yeah, baby, come on, brother. Wow, I'm shocked. Got nothing. This whole point of reeds. That fish back there was deceiving. Never mind, holy cow. What is that? What in the world is that? It's a largemouth, it's a largemouth, it's a largemouth. Get in this boat, yes sir. Okay, so the fish that are making wakes through the cattails are largemouth. That's crazy. That fish was fighting like a dang 8-pounder in Texas, and he weighs 2 pounds. Goodness gracious. All right, so how I'm working this bait, casting it out there, reeling it back with my rod tip up if I want it to not get stuck as much in the cattails. So like I'll cast it in there, let it sink a second, and then start reeling, kind of like hop my rod tip every few seconds to kind of give the skirt a flare, and then I'll drop my rod tip and reel slower, almost like just a paddle tail swim bait once it gets into more open water. And that's what's called a dynamic retrieve, where you're not just reeling it straight the whole time. So this area will be much more lily pad filled. Oh, there's one. There's one. Yes, sir. They're in here. Let's go. Come on, get out of these pads. Goodness gracious. That's fun. That's fun. I can't lie, that's fun. 2.5 pounder jackpot jig in the face. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was cool. I watched him wake on it. And so when I saw the wake happen, I paused and let it sink, and he ate it right on the fall. That is fun. This is, oh my gosh, no way. We're gonna have fun. I knew it. I knew this would be the ticket. Oh, here we go, here we go. Got him. Oh my gosh, that was so cool. That was so cool. What a big one. Watched him wake on it. At least he feels big. Get in here. Oh my gosh. Pushing 3 on that one. And look at how he ate the jackpot jig. Gone. Oh, that's so sick. Hopefully lighting is okay for you guys. It's getting a little bit dark, but I watched that guy wake on it one cast. I burned it in because I kind of got out of his strike zone area. And the next cast, I watched it wake over to it, and I got the donk. There's lots of carpet grass, and then right where the carpet grass intersects with cattails and pads, there's a little deeper section. These bass are sitting in the deeper areas. Like this whole cattail section here is the deepest water in this little region. These fish are so strong. Goodness gracious. big one, and he's swimming at me through it all. Come on. Holy cow. Oh my gosh, I love this. Oh, I love this. 3-pounder. Absolute chunk face. You got the jig bottom lip, which is an odd place, but just an absolute chunk ball. Look at that thing. Oh, come on, man. Goodness. If the fish is in the area and he sees it, he's coming to get it, baby. Ooh. Ooh, that one feels really big. Oh, yes. Get in here. Holy smokes, dude. Oh, not any bigger. Smaller, matter of fact, but who cares? This is crazy. And I knew this going into today, that this is probably the pattern that was gonna manifest, but it's good to have Bass Forecast that could tell me. Gosh, there we go. Basically double check my work for me. Oh my gosh, this is fun. This is fun. Who doesn't like this, huh? There we go. Holy. Fishing a jig on day number 3. Now, the jig that I'm fishing today is my favorite one for, pan the camera over there, boat docks. Dun, 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 dun.
They're the best in the history of the world, and that's a fact.
And the reason why I like this jig so much, hopefully the camera can focus right there, is that it is a small package. This is a 3/8 ounce Outcast Tackle Cage Fighter jig, and it's got a relatively flat bottom here, and it's made out of tungsten, so it's a really small presentation. I can fish this thing around submerged wood, laydowns, logs, but boat docks is one of my favorite places to throw this thing. So I'm gonna get myself a scound bug, and let's get up there and catch a bass. Holy cow, wow, goodness gracious. Skipped it in there and just felt this fish just running to the side with it. Holy cow, that is way, way bigger than I thought my first bass was gonna be out here. Holy smokes. I'm gonna come to the back. Holy cow, goodness gracious, what a big smallie. What a big smallie, and a dock, nonetheless. Oh, look at that smallmouth bass on the 3/8 ounce dock jig. Was absolutely not coming off. What a beautiful specimen, goodness gracious. And all it took to catch this beautiful specimen of a smallmouth bass was to skip my jig in the shaded section of this dock, because today the sun is extra high. Let's talk a little more about how I got this done. So this boat dock right here is the exact one that I just caught that smallmouth on, and I wanna show you guys a few of the key areas I like to target when it comes to boat docks, especially under these sky conditions. If you look around, it is the worst possible conditions if you're a videographer for shooting video. It is bright sun, not a dang cloud in the sky. But for fishing boat docks, it is actually the best conditions for that. We just had a cold front, the water cooled down a little bit, which gets these fish, both smallmouth, largemouth, and spotted bass, to either suspend out in the middle or get really tight to cover and structure, one of those being a boat dock here. And so when you have high sun conditions, of course, the bass are underneath the dock for a reason. I say 2 reasons. The first being there's an abundance of forage. So you have a ton of bluegill and baitfish that like to make their homes underneath boat docks. And that's why the predator fish, the largemouth, smallmouth, whatever kind of bass you're going for, are going to also be underneath the docks. But when you have the sun directly overhead, it also presents the perfect shaded location. And bass love to sit in shade, especially when it's been so dang hot outside. That's why in the summertime and fall, bass really like to sit underneath boat docks. So I'm gonna troll up to the dock here as I kind of explain, as I skip underneath this thing, the best location. So if you can see, the sun is coming from kind of like this angle right here, which means that the left side of the dock is going to be the more shaded side. So I'm always going to focus the majority of my fishing time in that shaded area. So if I'm going to skip underneath the front of the dock here, which is a great shady area, I'm gonna focus on the left side as opposed to the right, at least during this time of the day with the sun angle. Now, I didn't get a bite here, and so I thought I'm gonna move to a little bit shallower water. It's probably, what is it, 3.5 feet here, my depth finder says at the front of the dock. Way up shallow where I caught that fish, it's probably 1.5 feet of water. And so you've got to find out on your lake, if you're fishing boat docks, what depth zone the fish like to be, because they're incredibly patternable. So if you catch 1 or 2 in the shallow side of the dock, really focus your attention the rest of the day when you're fishing on skipping in the shallow side. And so if you'll look up there, hopefully camera can zoom in and see that, there's a lot more shade on that side. And you might wonder, well, why? That's because the boat, their little crest liner or little cruising boat right there, is casting a much bigger shadow due to the sun angle onto that side of the dock. So I skipped a few different times underneath, that was not a good skip, but underneath that super shaded section, and that's exactly where that fish was sitting. Obviously was waiting for some kind of bluegill or crawfish to swim by, and he nabbed it on the fall. So you really gotta pay attention. Are the fish underneath the deep section or the shallow section? Are they in the shade or the sun? Sometimes they're gonna be on the sunny side. Very rarely though, I would say majority of the time, they're gonna be in the shallows, and if you can get a good skip under there, hop it a few times, oftentimes that is a super high efficiency way to catch a bass. Let's catch another. There we go. Gosh, holy cow. Oh my gosh, another big one. Another big one, oh my goodness. Ah, gosh, dock skipping with a jig can be hero or zero, and I think that fish followed me out from the dock. I was not prepared, got me around the trolling motor, ended up with a zero, but what an adrenaline rush. Now, since the fish are biting so well, I want to teach you guys exactly how I'm skipping this jig and not getting a backlash, at least not very often, on my bait caster. So the number one thing I'll say is practice, practice, practice. Just like everything else in life, the more you practice, the better you'll get. But there are some kind of technique specific things when it comes to skipping. Number one being, when you first start out, have your brakes set tighter, because you're gonna get backlashes and you'd rather not get a horrible backlash. I would rather skip less distance because my brakes are so tight on my reel than get a horrible backlash and have to replace my line totally. So when you're first starting out, have tighter brakes. The second thing being, you need a relatively flat lure. A jig is not the easiest to skip, but this one here, like I mentioned, is my favorite one for skipping. A swim bait, a soft plastic fluke, a wacky worm, all good things to start skipping. But the number one thing I'll say is that you need to have a shorter rod. I can skip on a 7.6 if I want to, but this here is the Lou Signature Series. It is a 6.9 heavy fast action, and the shorter rod allows you, as you're skipping under there, to kind of point your rod tip at where you want to go. And I promise you guys, you can be a lot more accurate on a shorter, stiffer rod than you can a longer rod. So do you have to go invest in your own skipping combo? You don't have to, but I do, and it works out tremendously. Now, when it comes to the actual technique, I like to liken it to skipping a rock or maybe throwing a Frisbee sidearm. And so you want to imagine that you have about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 foot of line out, and you are either going in a loop and skipping underneath, or just kind of going back and forward, and you are releasing your thumb right as that lure starts to kind of make its trajectory this way, and you want to land your jig a few feet short of your target, this here being boat docks. And so for this skip, I'm going to go into that little corner right there where the walkway kind of reaches the shade area. I'm going to go backwards, forwards, let go of my thumb, and as you can tell, it skipped right underneath there. I kind of thumbed the spool while it was skipping, and then I stopped it right as it got to the desired distance underneath the dock. And if you learn to do this, you can be super efficient. So I'm going to reel in, skip under that section of the dock. Again, it's only 3.5-ish feet deep there, kind of hop it a few times, didn't get a bite, reel in. I'm gonna go underneath the front side of that pontoon. Oop, not super good, but shallow spool, only got a little bit of a backlash there. Hop, 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 nothing there, reel in. We got some waves. See if I can do this, make it more challenging. I'm gonna try to go underneath the corner by the seats here. Perfect. Just like that. Let it sink to the bottom. And I'm gonna give it a little longer as I'm working it this time because there's more shade where I just cast. So what's called the strike zone is a little bit bigger on that exact cast right there, but did not get anything. So I'm gonna reel in and do the exact same thing underneath the front of the dock. And while this may look super challenging, I promise it's really not that hard. You just have to put in the time to practice. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. And of course, the more fish you'll catch. There we go. Come on, baby. Absolutely nailed it. Get your booty in here. Gosh, what a beautiful fish. What a beautiful fish. Eating the jig. Gonna flip you up in here. Yes, sir. What a way to end. Day number 3. Beautiful smallmouth bass. 3/8 ounce cage fighter dock jig in the face. Can't get enough of this, but we can get enough, and we'll see y'all at day number 4. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Oh, sorry. These are my pets. Welcome to day 4. So with a weird start to day number 4, I want to talk about the weird jig we're talking about today, and that is the marabou hair jig. This little furry hairball has been around for a very long time and catches bass all across the world, but especially clear water smallmouth bass. Its very simple construction just consists of a jig head, some marabou hair, usually a black color, that's the most popular, and a very light wire small hook. Now these kind of jigs come in 3 main colors, black being the most popular, we'll discuss why here in a second, browns and purples. And the jig head itself is usually no head heavier than 1/8 of an ounce, making this a very finesse presentation. Now, there are two reasons why black is the most popular color for a marabou hair jig. The first being is that it's a very obvious color for fish to find in clear water. It sticks out like a sore thumb. Everything else is clear, translucent, and this thing is jet black. And the second and more niche reason is that in some lakes, they actually have aquatic leeches that are swimming around that the bass like to target. And so this thing, especially wet in the water, looks just like a little leech. Now, because the marabou hair jig is so dang light, it becomes incredibly difficult to cast, especially against any wind. And so to add some bulk to the bait itself, I will cut off the very end of a small black worm or whatever color matches the hair jig I'm throwing, thread it on, and that will help get longer casting distance. And speaking of long casting distance, that's the most important, most crucial aspect of fishing with the marabou hair jig. And so to accomplish that, I throw it on a longer than usual spinning rod, a 7/6 medium light, this one here being the KVD GS7. And as far as line goes, I have the thinnest braid that I can get away with. I believe it's like 10, maybe 12 pound braid to an 8-pound fluorocarbon Seaguar leader. I will leave all the tackle, of course, linked down in the video description. Really, out of all the jigs that I've fished so far, this is the most technical one that requires the most technical combo. Now, the cast and retrieve process on the marabou hair jig is really simple, but there are some things you can do to make it harder on yourself or easier to catch bass. And the first thing I'd say is that making a cast into the wind is considerably harder than making a cast downwind. And to that you may say, Tyler, no duh, it's harder to cast into the wind than it is with it, but I'm just telling you, on the hair jig, it is like to the nth degree harder than it is on any other lure. So when possible, I'm gonna fish this thing with the wind as opposed to against it. Now, sometimes the fish want the bait coming with the wind, and in that case, you just gotta make the best cast possible. So how do you do that? Well, I usually leave about 2.5 to 3 foot of line from my rod tip to my hair jig, which is a little more than I leave on most lures that I fish with, but this one especially, it's more important. And if I'm gonna go to cast, it's never gonna be a total overhand cast. It's always gonna be a sideways roll cast. And the reason for that is because you want your hair jig to be as unaffected by the wind as possible. And if you make a long overhand cast, your jig goes from here up and over, which gives it plenty of time for the wind to not only affect the lure itself, but also to grab all that line that is now rainbowing up in the sky. The exception, of course, if I'm casting downwind, like this direction right here, an overhand cast works just fine, but I still feel like I'm more accurate and I get a faster, more direct cast by doing a nice full roll cast and pointing my rod tip forward. Now, once you've done that, hopefully you're a good 30 to 35 yards away from your boat or from the bank. You want to let it sink all the way to the bottom. Now, if you've got a snaggy bottom, you want to understand how fast it falls and count it down in the water column before beginning your retrieve. But I'm fishing on a pretty wide open flat with maybe some boulders here or there, not a whole lot of stuff to get stuck on, so my hair jig is down there on the bottom. Then I'm going to just begin a nice, slow, quiet, I say quiet because it's like the reel's hardly making any noise. You see here from my chest mount angle, the handle is barely turning, maybe one rotation every 3 seconds. And sometimes with the rod tip down, I will lightly pulsate it here with my pointer finger, almost like I'm shaking the minnow on a jig head minnow technique. Sometimes I'll just go a totally straight retrieve. And if I'm retrieving it in really shallow water, I'll actually keep my rod tip up and just barely shake it as I slowly retrieve it. This lure hardly needs any action at all. Matter of fact, the more action you impart on the hair jig, oftentimes the less realistic it looks. So one more example of the cast, 2.5 to 3 feet out, smooth sideways roll cast, point your rod tip where you want it to go, let it sink, and start your slow, slow retrieve. Now, enough talking about the dang black hair jig, let's go catch a bass on one. There we go. Got one, baby. Are you large? Oh, yes. Yes, you're large. You're huge. You're huge. You're huge. You're huge. Let's tighten my drag a little bit. Good grief, what a big one. Good grief, what a large one. Oh, gosh. Just slowly shaking and dragging the hair jig caught us a stinking giant on day 5. Oh my gosh. Holy cow, what a mega smallmouth on the hair jig. Goodness. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I've been throwing this thing around for 45 minutes with 0 bites. Finally made a long cast over a shallow boulder-filled shoal, and we got ourselves probably a 5, maybe 6 pound smallmouth. Yes! The light little hook on the hair jig got him perfectly in the corner of the mouth. And I'm curious what she weighs. I'm gonna guess 534. Oh, 5.13. But what an amazing fish and an awesome way to start day number 5 on the hair jig. I can't guarantee in this weather we catch any more fish, but I'm glad we got one. big one. What a dang beautiful fish. See a big girl. Oh, I've got one. Oh, I've got one. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another big one. Another big one. Spot locus. Not quite as big, but a nice one. Come on, baby. Get in here. Get in here. Gosh, 4.5 pounder. So strong. Get my net. Get yourself in the net. Come on, baby. Yes! Hair jig's on fire. All right, overreaction. Not quite a 4 pounder, but a beautiful 3. And look at where you got the hair. It's down the face. That one got a roof of the mouth, and when you're getting this thing out, you want to be really careful because the hook is very light wire, so I don't need to really wrench on it to get it out of there. Got it. Thank you, Mr. Hair Jig, and thank you, Mr. 3-pound Minnesota smallmouth. Come on. Let's go. Gosh, man, I'm having fun. Oh, I've got one. Oh, I've got one on the fall. I've got one on the fall, and it feels big. It feels large. Come on over here, baby. How big are you? You gonna jump for me? You gonna do a dance? You gonna do a dance? No, you're not. No, you're not. Kinda glad you're not. What a strong fish. Get in here, baby. Get in here. Yes, sir. 4 pounder. Oh, I'm so glad that y'all are letting me do the hair jig as a jig. Because let me tell you, it catches some mega smallmouth bass. I gotta put this one on Instagram. And I mean, look at the hook placement. That is just gorgeous. That fish was not coming off. Black marabou hair jig, big ol' black bass, I guess. It's in the family, but it's smallmouth. But I don't care. It's so big. Oh, I'm having the most fun ever. If you are not subscribed, even now, what are you doing? And if you make a long cast and retrieve it ultra slow around shallow areas where smallmouth live, I promise you, you'll get bites on the hair jig. Oh, you also may catch a rock. Like I said, you gotta get close to the bottom, but when you do that, sometimes you're gonna snag a few rocks. Good thing I have my auto retriever. Supposedly the best retriever tool, both north and south of the Mason-Dixon line. Let's see about that. Yeah, let's stinking go. Thank you, Ott, for designing such a cool tool. First time actually using it myself. This thing is a tool of wizards. Dang it. I wanted to catch one more big one. But you know what? I think we can finish our 5 days of a jig. Now this jig here is the football jig, and just like every jig in this video, it can apply to every type of angler. Now if you are a bank fisherman, the football jig should not be the first one you reach for, but if you've got hard bottom in your body of water, especially rocks down there off of the bank, the football jig is a fantastic one to throw. I would just downsize your jig as compared to those of us fishing in bass boats, kayaks, john boats on bigger bodies of water. And the main feature that makes this jig so special is that it has a football shaped head. It's also usually a larger profile jig, which means it represents a bigger style of bluegill, of crawfish, of whatever you have down there on the bottom the bass could be eating. A football jig is a great way to represent that. Now, because it's a bigger presentation, and oftentimes I'm fishing it in deeper water, as you'll see here in a second, I throw it on a slightly beefier rod and reel combo. I've got 17-pound fluorocarbon line. I've got a fast gear ratio reel. Anything in the 7s or above works great. And then I've got a 7.3 medium heavy rod. This thing allows me to launch the football jig to make extra long casts and start dragging it down there on the bottom. And if done in the right place at the right time, wherever the bass are, it's gonna end up looking something like this. Slow drag, slow me, another drag. There we go. Oh yes, sir. Ooh, felt it hit the backside of the boulder. Get in here, baby. Get in here. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Nice one. Come on. Come on, Mr. Largemouth. Mr. Football Jig Eater. Oh, just a slow drag. Got that big girl. Yes, sir. There ain't nothing like a football jig bite out in deep water. Just feel that thought, and you know you got a big hook set incoming. Nice fish. Thank you, big girl. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Oh, no. He got off. I was dragging along and there was a rock. That wasn't a rock. Oh, there he is. I knew you weren't a rock, my friend. Ooh, ooh, hello. Not big, but still a dang good time. Was just feeling rock after rock after rock, and then donk. That's not a rock. That's a bass. So now that we are a few fish catches into the football jig, I want to explain where I'm retrieving it and how I'm retrieving it. So the number one thing I'm going to say, as I talked about a second ago, is offshore. So the bank is over there. I am off the bank right now. Whether you are in a kayak, a bass boat, or even on the bank, you can fish off the bank. You don't have to actually cast around the bank line. And the second thing is going to be hard bottom. So whether it is sand, clay, and especially rocks. Today we have rocks mixed with grass, mixed with wood, a whole bunch of good stuff down there. The bass, especially in the winter, summer, and fall, love to hang on. And there's no better lure than a football jig to cast out there and do this with. Drag. Reel in my slack and drag. Reel in my slack and drag. And every time I drag, making sure to maintain contact with my rod blank and or the line to really feel what's down there. And especially here, I mean, you can see here from my chest mount angle, rocks. Rock right there, rock. Coming over another rock. Any kind of resistance I feel down there, because I know what this spot is like, is rocks, grasses, and sticks. Now you've got to find out on your body of water what kind of offshore structure you have. But if the bass are not on the bank, they're probably out deep, and a football jig is a great way to do it. And like I said, you gotta slow drag. Can you work a football jig like this or hop it off the bottom? Absolutely. But its intended design, as I talked about with the football shaped head, is to plow through the bottom, creating commotion and causing a bass to say, what was that? I'm gonna go eat that thing just like this. Yeah, not a bass, not a bass, I don't think. Oh, yes it was. Come on now, baby. He came back for it. Came back for it. Let's go. Not a big one, but after you set the hook and swing and miss on a fish, really on any jig or soft plastic, let it fall right back down, because you never know, that fish is still in the area. So with these 5 days over, what did I learn about fishing with jigs? Well, first of all, because I forced myself to fish every single day with a brand new style of jig, my confidence in each one of these, in fishing them and of course catching bass on them, has skyrocketed a lot faster than I thought it would. Whether it's a skipping jig, a swim jig, or a tiny hair jig, I now feel more confident than ever before, which I guess is a massive success. Second thing, I really learned that with most jigs, especially a swim jig, less is more. And what I mean by that is the less that you move it, the less speed or power you give it as you retrieve it, the more bites in general you get, especially with a swim jig, which is great news for those of y'all who are not very confident with a jig. Do less, you'll probably catch more. And lastly, pike are absolutely ruthless. If you're gonna fish jigs in a pikey lake, be willing to lose some money. But my goodness, what a dang journey. Hopefully y'all enjoyed watching this as much as I did making it. It's a ton of fun getting these videos out for you guys. Now, if you wanna watch my last 5 days video, I fished a swim bait for 5 days, that'll be clickable up here in this corner, as well as a video kind of in a similar vein where I fished all 5 main topwater types on one rod, and which one I think is the best rod combo, rod, reel, and line for that. That'll also be clickable up here in this corner. My name is Tyler. As always, it is a pleasure. My tackle is linked down below. I'd appreciate y'all shopping using those links, and we'll see y'all next time right here on TRF.